I'd first like to thank Carl and the Catalogue Raisonne Scholars Association for organizing this exciting panel and inviting me to participate. I'm so looking forward to the rest of the papers, and thank you so much.
This paper breaks from historically medium-specific divisions within museum collections and catalog raisonnes to consider a series of object-based case studies that attest to Edouard Manet's working methods across media in the 1860s, from painting through drawing to printmaking. Throughout the early decade of his career, Manet made watercolors after his own oil paintings to reproduce them in etching, a practice he repeated for several of his most accomplished and controversial canvases, a selection of which I'm showing you here. Though these watercolors enabled the artist to revisit and revise subjects beyond and apart from the pressures of the official state-sponsored salon on a scale more manageable than painting and a support less costly than canvas, they have not benefited from scholarship bound to artistic hierarchies that often privilege painting over works on paper. Unlike the ink and wash drawings Manet made after his own compositions in the 1870s and 80s for photomechanical reproduction in popular journals and books, the watercolors he prepared in the 1860s were elaborately worked up in various media to prepare editioned etchings. These drawings helped Manet translate painted compositions onto printing matrices, affording the artist an opportunity to reimagine each iteration according to the material attributes of whichever medium. I wanted to facilitate a technical study of these watercolors as a group to better understand the order of operations on each sheet and how they fit in the larger puzzle of Manet's working across media, an exercise that both inspired and motivated his artistic practice. Guided by collaborative efforts in conversation with curators and conservators at various public institutions, this project offers new technical images and findings, particularly for works on paper, that demonstrate how a revised account of Manet's works could be more productively organized according to what I call image genealogies, to consider related works across media, taking the whole of Manet's production together. Previously marginalized, often poorly reproduced, and little exhibited, Manet's early watercolors materialize an essential link between his painting and printmaking, a pattern that emerges in looking across his artistic output in this way. Organized in roughly chronological order, these are some of the case studies that I explored more in depth in my PhD dissertation to think through the various artistic processes at stake, issues of scale, orientation, order, and of course, medium. For the purposes of this talk, I'm going to focus on this group of objects, many of which I was able to study firsthand at the New York Public Library, thanks to curator Madeline Bilhogen and paper conservator Denise Stockman. I'll walk us through some findings as a result of multiple close and comparative looking sessions, both in the print study room and in the conservation lab. Manet designed a so-called first and second cover for the 1862 publication of 8 graveurs à l'eau forte par Edouard Manet, neither of which was ever used, and another for an 1863 set of 14 etchings, probably published for friends on the occasion of his marriage to Suzanne Lienhoff. Both the second cover design for the 8 graveurs and the cover for the set of 14 etchings are in part derived from one of Manet's painted compositions, Hat with Guitar, also made in 1862. The small painting illustrates Spanish props and costumes acquired by the artist before his visit to Spain in 1865 that first appear in The Spanish Singer of 1860, exhibited at the Salon of 1861, and again in Mademoiselle Victorine in the costume of an espada of 1862, exhibited at the Salon of 1863. The painting would have been available to Manet as he worked up related compositions and was found unframed in his studio at the time of his death in 1883, when it was identified by Suzanne's son, Léon, as a dessous de porte, or over door, and photographed with the rest of the studio contents by Ferdinand Lochard before their sale the following February. It's worth pausing to note here that my object-based study is of course bolstered by archival research, including these invaluable materials at the Morgan Library in New York and the Bibliothèque Nationale de France in Paris, which Juliette Wilson-Barrot has generously synthesized and correlated. Technical analysis and archival research are just some of the tools in our kit, but can and should be used to corroborate one another. Okay, back to the works. While there is no evidence to suggest Manet used a drawn intermediary to transfer the image first achieved on canvas to the matrix used to print the second cover design, there is a watercolor that includes elements of the composition and nearly matches the printed cover for the set of 14 etchings, as you can see from this artificial and reversed overlay of the two sheets. Further technical analysis, including reflectance transformation imaging, or RTI, as well as examination under magnification and in various lighting conditions undertaken for my dissertation, seems to confirm that the drawing was used for direct transfer to the copper plate. The drawing was done in graphite with watercolor on medium weight handmade cream laid paper with a slightly pinkish tone that bears a prominent complete watermark at center, Aline, with the letters HP in escutcheon. The watermark and laden chain lines are seen more clearly here in transmitted light. Manet inscribed the publication's title and author in graphite above faintly ruled graphite lines and emboldened them with black watercolor, not black ink as previously identified, confirmed by its aqueous character under magnification. The titles of 9 of the prints to be included, written in graphite in reverse, with one exception, are listed in 2 columns separated by a vertical line enhanced with black watercolor that Manet applied with a relatively dry brush. Now to the still life. Manet first established the still life composition in graphite, then he added watercolor to work up individual elements in brown, black, orange, and red. Then Manet delineated the surfaces of the guitar with black, intimated wood with small touches of darker brown over a lighter brown on its base and side, and marked the neck, head, tuning pegs, and edge of the red strap with black. The red of the strap sits on top of the black of the guitar's head, seen more clearly under magnification, suggesting it was added after the instrument was laid in. The hat and guitar are balanced on top of several items of clothing, including a pale, now faded pink garment, probably the cape brandished by Victorine as an espada, all of which spill out of a basket whose weave Manet suggests with horizontal and diagonal strokes in variously diluted shades of brown. Manet incised significant contours throughout the composition to transfer the image to the copper plate. RTI is a computational photographic method that captures a subject's surface shape and color and enables the interactive relighting of the subject from various directions. RTI also permits the mathematical enhancement of these attributes, which can reveal information less visible or imperceptible under direct empirical examination of the physical object. Unlike examination under magnification or with raking light, in which only part of the image can be seen under desired conditions at any given moment, RTI imaging allows for the entire surface of the drawing to be visible under desired and variable lighting conditions in a single view, enabling us here, for example, to visualize the entire map of incisions throughout the design. Studied at closer range under the microscope, disruptions to both the watercolor and paper fibers, for example, at the bottom of the basket, appear as dotted lines, indicating that a sharp tool, probably a metal stylus such as an etching needle or a finely pointed pencil, was used to trace the image. These lines, which at times depart from the pencil drawing, look like losses under magnification, for example, in the bottom of the guitar, suggesting that the tracing was done after the addition of watercolor. Had the tracing been done before the addition of watercolor, these disrupted areas would likely be filled in with colored wash. For example, under magnification, an initial graphite line is visible beneath the red wash in a section of the guitar strap, and both are interrupted by the marks of the sharp object used to make the tracing. Looking to the head of the guitar using RTI, these lines are more visible. Again, the presence of these incisions suggests that the watercolor was used for direct transfer onto the printing matrix that produced the etching, a mirror image of the drawing. The first state of the print, achieved in etching with an aquatint and used to house the set of 14 prints listed, is known in 5 proofs, 4 of which have been identified in public collections, and all of which were dedicated by Manet to his friends that would have received the set as a gift. Only 2 of the 5 frontispieces survive on the full folded sheet. No full set, however, survives intact. Again, looking at the New York Public Library impression using RTI, we were able to more closely examine the interrupted inscription at top right, PM, surmised by scholars to be either Paul Montluc, to whom Manet had dedicated the earlier complete collection of huit graveurs, or Paul Maurice, the novelist playwright who was a close family friend of the Manets. Though the name was at some times scraped out, the effects of which are visible in this digitally raking light, I believe we can distinguish some of what was once written on the now damaged surface thanks to RTI. An O after the M and the top of a T are to me discernible, suggesting this set was indeed destined for Paul Montluc. The aim of this quick run-through was to give a behind-the-scenes look at how and why one might do object-based study, and more specifically, to demonstrate how the watercolors help us see the ways in which Manet worked across media, how looking across media shaped his work, and how we can look across media to better understand his artistic output. Now, I want to share the ways in which we have and will put this methodology to practice in recent and forthcoming projects at the Art Institute of Chicago, which demonstrate how object-based study can guide curatorial strategies in and beyond the galleries, from installation to labels, catalogs, and online interactives. This is the homepage for our online scholarly catalog of paintings and works on paper by Manet in the collection. Each object features an art historical essay and technical report, featuring interactive images that allow you, for example, to toggle between various lighting conditions, including X-ray, raking light, infrared, and transmitted light, all of which allow you to observe compositional changes beneath the surface that are explained at length in the text that follows. You're also able to zoom into the canvas to see the surface more clearly and under higher magnification than ever possible in the galleries, but of course, a luxury in the lab, and that's my favorite detail. We also offer details throughout the discussion of Manet's materials and techniques, as well as notes on the painting's current and past frame, including labels on the back, and an annotated provenance, exhibition history, and bibliography. Putting together a catalogue raisonne is, of course, an enormous collaborative undertaking, and there are several for Manet's works. Most recently and pertinent to this paper, Delirus's 1969 catalogue of Manet's drawings, the definitive 1975 Ruar and Wildenstein catalogue raisonne of Manet's paintings and drawings, and Harris's 1996 catalogue of Manet's prints. Constructed according to the logic of its day, the 1975 catalog raisonne is separated into two volumes, one for paintings and another for drawings, including pastels, watercolors, and illustrated letters. The drawings in the second volume are further divided by generic subjects like portraits of women, portraits of men, and still lifes, such that, for example, those related to hand guitar are all pages apart. Taking the best of each, we have an opportunity now to reconsider how such a catalog might be constructed and what kind of information it might contain. An ideal revised catalog raisonne of Manet's work, in my view, would be digital and include both technical material and interactive images, organized according to, or at least able to accommodate, the kinds of chronological and/or genealogical models I've shown, that are in turn modeled on and very much indebted to Juliette Wilson Barrow's extensive scholarship on the artist, particularly her two catalogs on Manet's prints from 1977 and 78 respectively, the 1983 exhibition catalog commemorating the centennial of Manet's death, and her groundbreaking 1986 article, The Hidden Face of Manet, where, for example, she illustrates Manet's Victorinas in a Spada, an X-ray of the canvas that reveals a hidden unrelated composition, art historical precedents for that image, and Manet's preliminary drawn copy, all together. Of course, the beauty of an exhibition is pulling related objects together, as we did here in Manet and Modern Beauty. I'm showing you the Chicago presentation, and you're looking at Jeanne, or Spring, at center, on loan from the Getty, and a cache of related printed material in a case at left, which includes several etchings after the painting and its first reproduction in color, all within view of the painting itself, to encourage this kind of informed comparative looking across media. This ambition to look closely across media extends to our current project, a Cézanne retrospective slated for 2022. Here are a few examples where Cézanne is treating the same composition across media, a subject we will explore further in the exhibition in terms of materials, making, and meaning. Continuing the work of colleagues engaged in close looking, we are undertaking a comprehensive technical study of our own paintings and works on paper by the artist, including micro-XRF, a non-invasive technique to identify organic pigments and better understand his palette. For this project, we are grateful to rely on the recently digitized Cézanne catalog raisonne, which will someday soon compile technical material in addition to the provenance, bibliography, and exhibition history that are already there, along with related works, all together on one page. This paper was made possible thanks to the generosity of countless colleagues, many of whom first welcomed me as a graduate student. My intention here was to offer a behind-the-scenes look at how and why one might engage object-based study, taking Manet's work as an example, to promote guiding principles pertinent to both academic and curatorial engagement, from catalog raisonnes to exhibitions. These possibilities are predicated on close study of the objects themselves, which necessitates collaborative work across institutions and between departments. The aim of this study is not necessarily about answers, but rather questions, to consider these objects on their own material terms and investigate new ways of looking, thanks to technological advances.
I'd like to thank you so much for listening and look forward to our discussion.